So as usual, we will begin with 4 questions that will help to set our intentions and the tone for working with the energy of the Three of Wands. And you are welcome to journal or just to sit and see what arises from contemplating these questions. When you were a child, how did you imagine your adulthood would look? When you were a child, how did you imagine your adulthood would look? What one thing do you wish someone would understand about your vision for the world? What one thing do you wish someone would understand about your vision for the world? What message do you need to send out to the universe? What message are you, sorry, what message do you need to send out to the universe? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? If you haven't already, just take a moment to settle into your seat where you're sitting right now. Take a moment to check that you are supported. Take a moment to make any adjustments you might need to be undisturbed for the next 20 or so minutes, whether it's to close a door or turn the light down. You're welcome to be sitting or standing or laying down for the entirety or just part of this meditation. Whatever position feels good to you in this moment, it helps you to be present to this moment. Just allow yourself to sink into the earth or the surface beneath you. Just noticing how it supports you, it holds you up. whatever that is. This basic sense, your basic need is met in this moment. The gravity of the earth keeps you from floating away. Take a moment to check in with your breath and start just by observing it. Notice what part of your body you most notice your breath. It could be your nostrils where the air is entering. It could be some movement that you feel as a result of your breath, either in your shoulders, your chest, your belly. Where in your body does your attention go? You think about your breath in this moment. Anytime your breath is feeling kind of shallow, you feel a little short of breath, it can help to bring your attention downward. Maybe not your nostrils, but paying attention to how your ribs expand and contract with the breath. Maybe rather than paying attention to the movement of your chest, bring your attention down to the movement of your belly. Don't try to force your breath to be anything that it isn't right now. Just create the space for yourself where it's safe to relax and be gentle, to slow down. If your eyes are closed and you'd like to keep them that way, you can just bring to mind in your imagination the image of the Three of Wands tarot card. Or you can lightly open your eyes and you place the tarot card low beneath you now so you can keep your gaze downward and just take in the image. Even if you're just imagining it, don't worry that you might forget some small details. I'm just going to work with what you have in front of you now, either in your physical presence or in your imagination. Just notice what you see in the picture. You see a person there, or an animal, or some sort of object, maybe just a wand. Depending on what deck you have, this could vary. If you see a figure there, what are they doing? What environment are they standing in? What, where are they placing their attention? you were standing in the same space with this person, what would you make of them? Would you choose to interact? Would you feel a need to give them their space? Do you feel like you'd be standing alongside them, doing exactly what they are, being part of their team? If you can relate to this figure that you see, maybe you imagine that this is you. What would it feel like to be standing this way? Most likely, the figure on your card is looking out at the ocean or the sea. Whatever they're doing, what would it feel like to be doing that? What would you imagine was going to happen next? The Suit of Wands relates to the element of fire. The element of fire relates to movement, to passion, and to one's sense of identity. Your inner fire drives you to be seen and to make some small or large impact on the world. Your inner fire is what tells you if something is exciting to you, something of particular interest. What excites you might not excite another person, and vice versa. Your inner fire is your creativity. It's what drives you to do what nobody else is doing. The source of something quite unique about you, something that only you can put into the world. The element of fire gives us the strength to be different. The first part of this meditation tonight, we're going to spend the next few moments just reflecting on what brought you to be the person you are today. A moment to think of the particular family you came from. Was there a mom in your household, a dad? Are there any siblings or just you? Maybe there was extended family that lived with you or nearby. Maybe there were close family friends that were part of your family. Take a moment to review how each of these might have contributed a little bit to who you are today. They may have been role models, or they may have been figures that you rebelled against. In both those ways, they could have influenced who you are now. Take a moment to review what type of education you had as a child. Did you go to nursery school? When you started kindergarten, how old were the oldest kids in your school? Maybe just a few years older than you, maybe 8 years older than you. What type of school did you go to? What was that environment like? Who were your allies in your education? Maybe you had favorite teachers. Maybe you had friends that came from a different background than you that changed your perspective on the world. What other education did you have? Did you go to college, grad school? Did you study in some other way? Maybe someone taught you a trade in a less formal educational setting. Now take a moment to recall what your natural childhood interests and inclinations. Maybe you had a favorite subject in school. Maybe your favorite things weren't addressed in school at all. Maybe you spent a lot of time outside of school teaching yourself something that mattered much more to you. You're just doing something that mattered much more to you. What topics and activities have you always been drawn to? Could be something that you still do today or something that you haven't done since you were quite young. I'll take a moment to review the jobs that you've held. Might have just been one or two jobs that you held for a really long time. Or you may have had several jobs. Perhaps you had several jobs when you were younger before you settled down into something more secure. What kind of experiences and skills did you pick up along the way through different job opportunities? Finally, take a moment to recollect, what unique adventures have you had? Maybe you've traveled. Maybe you've participated in some sports or other activities that give you a unique perspective. Maybe you've been in a band. What other groups have you been a part of that allowed you to grow in a whole different way? And just notice amongst all these things, how much of it is still part of you consciously? How much of it do you realize as you recall, oh, this is a part of me still? Maybe you haven't thought about it in a long time. The Three of Wands relates to having had established something, established an identity of some kind. You don't have to name it. Just take a moment to feel out, who is it that you've become at this point in your journey in your life? As the figure of the Three of Wands stands solidly with firm footing on the ground, looks out, he or she looks out, and they're waiting for something. Often the term is used, waiting for your ship to come in. You've worked so hard and you're waiting to be noticed or waiting to be recognized or to finally get paid what you're worth or to get that promotion or to get the job that you worked to earn or just to get the recognition and fame. What are you waiting for in your life? Maybe something you're aware of or something you don't want to acknowledge or something you haven't realized. What do you secretly expect is going to happen in your life? If your life were a novel, what would you expect to be happening next? Whatever it is you're waiting for, take a moment to play with the idea of turning that around. With all that you have experienced in your life, what message might it be that you could or should put out into the world? What do you have to teach? What do you have to tell? Your message might not be one that comes in words, it might come in music or images. Who do you imagine receiving your message? It might not be the whole world. And finally, how do you imagine people will hear your message? Do you imagine people coming to you for some special skill that you have? How do they hear about you? How do they know to come? Feels good. You can imagine standing by the water, waiting for that ship to come in. Ask yourself, what is it that's on that ship for you that you're waiting for? Maybe just ask yourself that question and see what arises. Or perhaps you want to imagine just sitting down next to that water and resting in the knowledge that you've accomplished quite a bit and you deserve to rest. There's no need to rush on to the next thing. Before we get ready to transition out of this meditation, just take a moment to revisit any parts of this meditation that you particularly enjoyed or that you might want to remember, take with you into the week ahead. And when you're ready, you can just begin to slowly bring your awareness back to the environment you're in now. Your attention to the touch of anything at the surface beneath you, anything your hands or arms might be resting upon. You might want to welcome a little deeper breath. You might want to welcome stretch or yawn. You might want to just start finding some movement in your fingers, your toes, or your wrists, your elbows, your knees. And just give yourself all the time you need to get ready to move on to the next part of your day.